What does Templar training involve?
There is weapon and combat training. Even without their abilities, Templars are among the best warriors in Thedas. Initiates must also memorize portions of the Chant of Light, study history, and improve their mental focus.
Did you enjoy your training?
I wanted to learn everything. If I was giving my life to this, I would be the best Templar I could.
You were a model student.
I wanted to be. I wasn't always successful. Watching a candle burn down while reciting the Chant of Transfigurations wasn't the most exciting task. And I admit, my mind sometimes wandered.
Do Templars take vows? I swear to the Maker to watch all the mages, that sort of thing.
There's a vigil first. You're meant to be at peace during that time, but your life is about to change. When it's over, you give yourself to a life of service. That's when you're given a filter, your first draft of Lyrium and its power. As Templars, we are not to seek wealth or acknowledgement. Our lives belong to the Maker and the path we have chosen.
Do the Templars do anything besides hunt mages?
Templars protect against the dangers of magic. Before the Order left the Chantry, that meant serving in a circle. They were also tasked with tracking apostates or fighting demons inevitably summoned by the weak or malicious.
What do you think of mages? Are they all a threat?
I've seen the suffering magic can inflict. I've treated mages with distrust because of it, at times without cause. That was unworthy of me. I will try not to do so here. Not that I want mages moving through our base completely unchecked. We need safeguards in place to protect people, including mages, from possession at the least.
Why did you join the Order?
I could think of no better calling than to protect those in need. I used to beg the Templars as our local chantry to teach me. At first, they merely humored me. I must have shown promise, or at least a willingness to learn. The Knight Captain spoke to my parents on my behalf. They agreed to send me for training. I was 13 when I left home.
13? That's still so young.
I wasn't the youngest there. Some children are promised to the Order at infancy. Still, I didn't take on full responsibilities until I was 18. The Order sees you trained and educated first.
What about your family? Did you miss them?
Of course. But there were many my age who felt the same. We learned to look out for one another.
You've lived in the Circle. What was a typical day for a Templar there?
Typical. The last time I was in a circle was right before it fell apart. Nothing was typical.
Before that, then?
Certain rituals require a full guard. A mage's harrowing, for instance. I've attended a few. Most of the time, you merely maintain a presence, on patrol or in the circle, ready to respond if needed. Mages pretend to ignore that presence, but they're watching you just as closely.
The Templars and mages never speak to each other.
Some do, but Templars are supposed to maintain a certain distance from their charges. If a mage is possessed or uses blood magic, you must act quickly, without hesitation. Your judgment cannot be clouded. Of course, ignoring one another does nothing to foster understanding.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
I'm sure you have other matters to attend. Did you need something?
I should get to know you better. We're working together after all.
What would you like to know?
All right. Where are you from?
I grew up in Ferelden, near Honwood. I was transferred to Kirkwall shortly after the Blight. This is the first I've returned in almost 10 years.
You were in Ferelden during the Blight. Did you fight Darkspawn?
No. I was stationed at Ferelden's Circle Tower. The Circle had troubles of its own. I remained there during the Blight.
What happened at the Circle Tower?
Few who survived the Blight have fond memories of that time. I would prefer not to speak of it.
You haven't seen Ferelden in 10 years. Are you glad to be back?
I was not sorry to leave at the time. I did not expect to return. Now, Between the Divine's murder and the breach, I've arrived to find nothing but chaos.
What was Kirkwall like?
While I was there, Qunari occupied and then attacked the city. The Viscount's murder caused political unrest. Relations between Mages and Templars fell apart. An apostate blew up the Chantry, and the Knight Commander went mad. Other than that, it was fine.
What happened between Kirkwall's Mages and Templars?
You were at the Conclave. You must have heard people speak of it.
Yes, but you were there.
There was tension between Mages and Templars long before I arrived. Eventually, it reached a breaking point. There was fighting in the streets. Abominations began killing both sides. It was a nightmare.
What happened then?
The Templars should have restored order, but Red Lyrium had driven Knight Commander Meredith mad. She threatened to kill Kirkwall's champion, turned on her own men. I'm not sure how far she would have gone. Too far.
So you opposed her?
I stood with the champion against her, in the end. I should have seen through Meredith sooner.
Varric's from Kirkwall. Did you two know each other?
I knew he was friends with the champion of Kirkwall, but little else. We've spoken more since I joined the Inquisition, largely at Varric's insistence. Apparently, I spend too much time with a serious expression on my face, and it's bad for my health.
I'll let you return to...
I'm sure you have other matters.
Greetings.
I have some more...
Why am I not surprised?
Tell me...
I would prefer not to speak of
I'll let...
Tell Mother Giselle, I run a business, not a charity. Ah, you're awake and out of Lady Cassandra's clutches. And here I paid that little... No matter, no matter. Segret, honored to meet you. Thank you for all you've done, and hopefully we'll still...
Thank you for...
Easily given. Our fate is quite... Anything you need is yours. For a reasonable price, of course. Supplies are a little tight, given the circumstances.
Can I...
Of course. By where...
Something.
I've read your tale...
That's a pretty common reaction. Go ahead.
There was no word for heaven or for earth or sea or sky. All that existed. But right now, we just need to be careful not to talk.
Segret can get what I need. I'll pay the bastard myself.
It's good you've returned. We heard of your encounter.
You heard?
My agents in the city sent word ahead, of course.
It's a shame the Templars have abandoned their senses, as well as the capital.
We had to do something, and now we have an opportunity.
Yes, and we have the opening we need to approach the Templars and the mages.
Do we? Lord Seeker Lucius is not the man I remember.
True, he has taken the orders somewhere, but to do what? My reports have been very odd.
We must look into it. I'm certain not everyone in the Order will support the Lord Seeker.
Or the Herald could simply go to meet the mages in Redcliffe instead.
You think the Mage Rebellion is more united? It could be 10 times worse.
I could at least find out what the mages want.
No doubt what they've always wanted. Support for their cause.
We shouldn't discount Redcliffe. The mages may be worth the risk.
They are powerful, Ambassador, but more desperate than you realize.
So it'll be dangerous. I've been in danger since I walked out of the Fade.
If some among the rebel mages were responsible for what happened at the Conclave...
The same could be said about the Templars.
True enough. Right now, I'm not certain we have enough influence to approach the Order safely.
Then the Inquisition needs agents in more places. That's something you can help with.
In the meantime, we should consider other options.
There is one other matter. Several months ago, the Grey Wardens of Ferelden vanished. I sent word to those in Orlais, but they have also disappeared. Ordinarily, I wouldn't even consider the idea they're involved in all this, but the timing is curious.
That does sound odd, I agree.
The others have disregarded my suspicion, but I cannot ignore it. 2 days ago, my agents in the hinterlands heard news of a Grey Warden by the name of Blackwall. If you have the opportunity, please seek him out. Perhaps he can put my mind at ease.
And if he can't?
Then there may be more going on than we thought.
Excuse me. I've got a message for the Inquisition, but I'm having a hard time getting anyone to talk to me.
Who are you, soldier?
Cremisius Aclasi with the Bulls Chargers Mercenary Company. We mostly work out of Orlais and Navarra. We've got word of some Tevinter mercenaries gathering out on the Storm Coast. My company commander, Iron Bull, offers the information free. If you'd like to see what the Bulls Chargers can do for the Inquisition, meet us there and watch us work.
I look forward to meeting this Iron Bull.
We're the best you'll find. Come to the Storm Coast and you can see us in action.
Have you seen Enchanter Vivienne? That's the picture of what a circle mage should be.
She looks like a noble.
I'm listening.
Anything I should know?
I've nothing to report at the moment.
I'll leave you.
So, this is it, huh? Oh, no, it's fine, yeah? It's just, I thought it'd be bigger. Hear that? I meant the stronghold, but it sounded like... Well, it's funny, right? Anyway, stopping wars should earn more sovereigns than this. Need things back to normal for coins to be flowing again. Another reason the Templars and mages need to be sat down.
It's not just a war between those two.
Well, sure, the sky has a hole in it, but I can't put an arrow in that. Well, I have. Doesn't come down. That's weird. And that's the point, right? It's weird and right there, but they still want to punch each other. They're too busy to look up where the real questions are.
That's why we're here. To help guide everyone back from the brink.
The religious ones tell you that. That's important, right? But don't make it all about that. Seems like believing too hard is what got everyone here. And here is stupid and smells of horse. Really, what everyone needs is to get everything back to normal and proper and profitable. Sound good to you, all-chosen Lord Herald?
I think I'll enjoy having you around, Sarah. I hope you'll feel the same.
Not even. Get to work, Herald. I'm gonna go kick someone out of a bed. Chasing the Lord Seeker, I hear. Anyone who thinks they need Lord in front of the name, that's bad. Bet he's got a portrait taller than he is. That's your first clue to a total arse. Fact.
I was wondering if you could look at some locks for me.
What, the doors under the chantry?
You know about them?
Places have doors. I just wasn't interested in poking through some sister's breeches. Whatever floats you. Consider them open, yeah? Chasing mages, that's a Templar's job. A big, armoured, pissed-off helm polisher. Not too late to go find some. Or stay home.
You apparently...
It's not mine, right? Everyone who wants to shove it to nobles who hide behind gold and silk. And hats, I guess. Well, I agree. His heirloom. Pish, pish, pish. A lot of people eventually get help or a laugh. Or maybe someone dead, if they deserve it.
So who decides who deserves it? You? By what authority?
Look, Dukey cuts the stable boy's finger off for snagging a biscuit. He's eating an arrow for tea. Deserves it. Most times, it's just fun. And embarrassed, the same as dead for some. Anyway, assassin's a bard's job, and no fun that lot. They might plonk a noble, right? But only... Plus, I'm shy at singing.
Is red...
Dunno.
Don't you care?
Not if it works. I mean, red is scary because... blood. And Jenny is... Look, nobody fears the bunch of people who do... And besides, it's easy. Nobles want a bogeyman. Numbers, right? It don't have to be so complicated.
Doesn't this mean people think you're guilty of more than you actually do?
Suppose. Does it matter?
Shouldn't it?
Important people kill over imagined insults. I've made more than enough real ones, so no. I don't suppose it does.
Where are the people you
If I knew, they wouldn't be much use. That's sort of the point. Yeah, I know. Wipers, right? You better believe the one with wipers deserve it, right? Well, anyway. The little people will be there when you need them, in a million little ways.
So lots of little contributions add up in the background, like snowflakes that snap...
What? Sure. Anyway, it just works, most of the time. Friend of a friend and little... Mind you, you still have... To be clear, I'm not into that.
I can play along if it works.
You have a choice. Hail the Inquisition.
We'll
It's all... Your wish is something, something.
Tell me about yourself.
What about me?
You're not like most of the elves I've met.
Thanks, right? Or was that an insult? Suppose I could go barefoot and whine more. Like that's soulless, right? Never be as good as we were. Well, who's we? I'm just fine.
There's a lot of tradition there. Should it just be thrown away?
Your great-grandfather's dead. Why aren't you dead? You're throwing away tradition.
that makes sense to you.
None of it does in the city. That's why I'm not like an elf.
How about the basics? Where are you from?
Ferelden?
I got that from the accent. Where in Ferelden?
All over? Okay, fine. Denerim for a bit. South, north, wherever I want.
There are no connections you want to mention at all?
Nope. It's complicated. I don't like complicated. Let's leave it at that. Maybe.
You're skilled. Who taught you how to use a bow?
No one.
That seems unlikely.
What? I picked it up here and there. Mostly it just makes sense. It's not like that for you.
Oh, certainly. Not a day's effort for the naturally gifted like us.
Well, it's not like that. It takes work. A bit. Not like Cullen and his pets. I mean, you miss, then you don't. Is it that hard to see when it's wrong?
Is it an elf thing?
Most I know couldn't find an arrow sitting on it. Right. Maybe I just make it look easy in shite company. Fact still is, no teacher. Where would I find one in alleyways anyway? Ready for waiting.
What do you think about the people?
Which? The ones who do things or the ones who give orders?
Thoughts about Cassandra?
Not as buttoned up as she plays, right? Tough, though. I'd stand behind her in front of anything.
What about Solus?
Solus? His head's crammed up 1,000 years ago.
Anything to say about Varric?
Varric? Too clever. Always saying something, but never saying it straight.
What do you think about our spy master, ambassador, and commander?
Liliana is pretty in places. Swear I've seen her, too. Or heard she used to play. But that'd be mad. Now, Josephine, she's as good at humbling her kind as I am. Just with less mess. Knows her business, if you have to have it. And Cullen, I suppose if you want a jackboot, you get a big one so you can grow into it. Nice hair, though.
What's your opinion of Vivienne?
She's a bitch, but she knows. She better.
We'll talk later.
Good, right? Your wish is something, something.
Is the Inquisition what you thought of?
Calling an Inquisition is a bit much, isn't it? Does this lot even know what they're chasing? Fair question for me as well, I suppose. Everybody, at least I'm used to that.
I'll be back if...
Go on.
I met an elven mage earlier. Solus, I believe he was called. I admit I was surprised. I didn't expect to find mages among the Inquisition. Tell me, why were you at the Divine Conclave?
The Circle had plenty of problems, but it's an institution we sorely need.
I wish more people understood the truth of this. Justinia's death has shattered the balance of power in Thedas. If it is not restored quickly, countless lives will be lost. Mages, Templars, innocent people of all kinds now look to the Inquisition to decide their fate.
I'll try not to let them down.
Failure is a luxury we cannot afford, my dear. For almost 1,000 years, the world believed it was in the hands of the Maker. And now many believe you are the agent of his will. Whatever the truth is, that belief gives you power.
Nobody should claim to know the will of the Maker. Not me, and not the Chantry.
Perhaps nobody should. But if no one leads the way, many will be left behind in darkness. I've stolen enough of your time, my dear. Don't let me... Yes?
Is there anything I can do to help your efforts at restoring...
After the Circles fell, their libraries were plunged. 1,000 years of recorded knowledge in the hands of bandits. I've received news that some tomes have been located, if you are interested in righting this wrong.
I'll look into it.
If you can take care of this matter, the Circle would be... Yes?
I wanted to ask you about...
Of course. What do you wish to know?
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living...
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarrans or men. I have known some who were impossible to endure and some who were utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royaux. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool, skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The Circle is an idea, my dear, and an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage. Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the Circle in two. The rebels follow her, the loyalists follow me.
If you lead all the Loyalists, why are you only First Enchanter and not Grand Enchanter?
Grand Enchanters are elected, and since there are no First Enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held. I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the Circles are restored, that will change.
What was it like to live in a Circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages. I cannot tell you. Every Circle was different. Their Templars were different, their politics unique. And every person within each tower had an experience of Circle life unique to themselves. Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel, some compassionate, and some indifferent. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
So tell me about your personal experience with the Circle.
I enjoyed life in the Montsimard Circle, my dear. It was an edifice devoted to knowledge and refinement. And mages need the company of other mages. No one else can truly understand the challenges we face, nor see the world as we do.
You must have been under constant supervision, being forced by Templars to live in the tower. Was that hard to endure?
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been forced to live anywhere. Most Circles allowed mages to live away from the tower, either on their own or in service to the nobility. All that was required was permission from the First Enchanter. Some Circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was the worst, but it was the exception. Most were quite permissive. Perhaps too.
How did we come to this state with the Circles in revolt?
A failure of perspective that infected Circle leadership. Mages lived solely in a world of Templars and mages. They could not even imagine what was beyond the tower walls. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars. sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means, protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice. By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels. Yes?
I'd like to know more about you, Madame Vivienne.
Whatever would you like to know?
Your accent's not Orlesian. Where exactly are you from?
I am from the Circle, my dear. One's country of origin rarely matters there. But if you must know, I was born in Wycombe in the Free Marches. I was sent to the Ostwick Circle, but I transferred to Monsignor while still an apprentice.
I'm curious how a Circle mage winds up a courtier.
Nobody winds up at court, my dear. It takes a great deal of effort to arrive there. I caught the eye of Duke Bastien de Ghislaine, an advantageous connection that opened many doors. When the position of Enchanter to the Imperial Court became vacant, I was able to secure it.
You're married to the Duke de Ghislaine?
Of course not, my dear. Don't be ridiculous. Marriage is the business of alliance and inheritance. I'm Bastien's mistress.
And what does the Duchess de Ghislaine think of this arrangement?
We got along quite well. Duchess Nicoline and I used to host musical salons together. She was a great patron of the arts. She passed away from a fever a few years ago, the poor dear.
What duties does a court enchanter have?
I am tasked with providing assistance to the Empress on arcane matters. Most of my predecessors restricted this to lighting lamps and doing parlor tricks. In such troubled times as these, however, I provide political advice to Her Majesty on the subject of the Mage Rebellion.
Researcher Mene. Greetings, Herald of Andraste. How fares your quest to seal the breach? Do everything within your power, but remember those who would help you. In any case, I pray this Inquisition proves...
Is there an...
My healers would benefit from... If you could deliver this list, it may not seem like much, but it would enable my healers to save many lives.
Fair.
Make...
Ah, Lord Trevelyan. May I have a moment?
Yes, Ambassador?
I'd like to discuss your parents.
What would you like to know?
I'd like to dispatch a courier asking the bands of House Trevelyan to align themselves with us. What are your thoughts? Should we approach your family for their formal support of the Inquisition?
that's what you want, I'll send a letter to my family. They'll respect the request if it comes from me.
Wonderful. That will save time. Val Royeaux has noted your lineage. It gives the Inquisition some legitimacy, although not so much as we'd.
Why not?
You are from Ostwick. Orlesian nobles consider the Free Marches somewhat quaint.
Orlais has a proper empire. Free Marchers never unite until Darkspawn knock at their door.
No one doubts their ferocity when it happens. Free Marchers are renowned. Speaking of which, the accommodations in Haven are surely rough for someone of your birth.
Don't worry about me. Haven's more than...
Really? If that is how you feel, I'm... Until next time.
These truths the Maker has revealed to me.
My scouts are posted on the ridges in case there's any trouble.
At your service.
Let's see what we have.
To work?
this bullshit. You're mine!
Chargers! Stand down! Krim! How'd we do?
5 or 6 wounded, Chief. No dead.
That's what I like to hear. Let the throat cutters finish up, then break out the casks. So, you're with the Inquisition, huh? Glad you could make it. Come on, have a seat. Drinks are coming.
Iron Bull, I presume.
Yeah, the horns usually give it away. I assume you remember Cremisius Aclassi, my lieutenant.
Good to see you again. Throat cutters are done, Chief.
Already? Have them check again. I don't want any of those Tevinter bastards getting away. No offense, Krem.
None taken. At least a bastard knows who his mother was. Puts him one up on you Canary, right?
So, you've seen us fight. We're expensive, but we're worth it. And I'm sure the Inquisition can afford us.
How much is this going to cost me exactly?
Wouldn't cost you anything personally. Unless you want to buy drinks later. Your ambassador, what's her name? Josephine. We'd go through her and get the payments set up. Gold will take care of itself. Don't worry about that. All that matters is we're worth it.
The Chargers seem like an excellent company.
They are, but you're not just getting the boys. You're getting me. You need a frontline bodyguard. I'm your man. Whatever it is. Demons? Dragons? The bigger the better. And there's one other thing. Might be useful. Might piss you off. Ever hear of the Ben Hasra?
They're a Qunari organization, right? The equivalent of their guards and city watch.
I'd go closer to spies. But yeah, that's them. Or, well, us. The Ben Hasrath are concerned about the breach. Magic out of control like that could cause trouble everywhere. I've been ordered to join the Inquisition, get close to the people in charge, and send reports on what's happening. But I also get reports from Ben Hasrath agents all over Orlais. You sign me on, I'll share them with your people.
All right, you're in.
Excellent. Krem! All right, try blood magic. We'll meet you back at Haven.